You can ask me all of the burning questions you've been wanting to ask an academic who studied Octavia Butler for over 10 years, right? Let me tell you how I came to Butler's work before I answer your questions. I was a graduate student. I was a master's student trying to get ahead, right, on my reading list as a master's student. And I saw that one of my professors had Kindred on the reading list. And for me, I had said, I'm not a science fiction girl. Y'all know I'm from the hood. I'm from the hood. And I was like, I'm not a science fiction girl. So I don't like science fiction because to me, science fiction meant Star Wars, Star Trek. Okay? Star Wars, Star Trek. But I was like, I don't like Star Wars, Star Trek is weird work, right? At the time. And so it's so funny because as an undergraduate, I wrote my undergraduate senior thesis on Richard Wright's Black Boy and Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man. I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that weird science fiction-y stuff. So when I started reading the book, and I think this is the first book. No, I started reading an ebook. When I started reading Kindred, I was hooked. I said, Lord, I need to read everything that this lady has to offer, because I encountered Butler at a time where I was looking for myself in the pages of Black women authors. And here's what I mean. A lot of people are drawn to the works of Toni Morrison. They're drawn to the works. They're drawn to the works of Alice Walker, right? All of these prominent Black women writers who were very prominent during the 1980s. They were drawn to those women. They loved their works, and while I think that they had important works, I didn't love their works, right? I could not necessarily relate to their works, and I was really tired of reading texts where they maybe theorized about power as opposed to demonstrating what real power looked like. Like, I was just tired of reading struggle literature. That's what I feel like some of it was, just struggle literature. I was tired. And so when I read Butler, I was like, oh, this isn't struggle literature. This is something else. There is some type of power that caught my attention, right? And I was already interested in the supernatural, if I can be honest. I was like, oh, it's something here. Why hasn't anyone ever told me about this writer, right? She wasn't part of the curriculum in undergrad. And so I get to this point in my career and I am hooked. The next book I read was Wild Seed. And so I know those works like the back of my hand because I encountered Butler at a critical identity time for me. Here's what I mean. I was searching for myself. I was searching for something that I resonated with. I was, in a higher education program that I didn't necessarily ever seek to do, right? I never thought I can be a professor. That wasn't my goal. I wanted to be a teacher, but I didn't want to be a doctor. And I was trying to figure it out. And Butler helped me figure it out, right? In so many ways. And so I never abandoned ship. She hadn't had her renaissance yet. Let me just say that, because I was in grad school from 2012 to 2014, my master's. And so she hadn't had the Butler renaissance yet that she's having now, where everyone is returning to her work and all of that. Like, that didn't happen yet. And so I was literally taking a risk on it. Like, people knew about Butler, but they weren't really discussing Butler like that. And even in her papers, I find it very interesting that she's writing to the well-known Black women writers that we all know. She's writing to Morrison in her letters. She's writing to Alice Walker in her letters, kind of asking to be a part of the conversation in very interesting ways. And I don't know if they've ever written back to her, because I didn't read the entire, I didn't go through all her mail. But she was really asking for some type of attention in that way. And it's very fascinating to think that she didn't get she got her moment, but people didn't come to know her until years after her death, or appreciate her work until years after her death. And, I stuck beside her. Y'all know how they say, he mine and I'm gonna stick beside him. I stuck beside her because she was writing from a place that I had never experienced before. And that's how I got into Butler's work. She really spoke to me in a lot of her work. She really demonstrated power. And though some of her works can seem pessimistic, if she's not careful, sure, right? But ultimately, she was clear in her papers that she did not write about powerless people. And I think that's something people should know, right? She was clear that I write about power. I do not create powerless characters. And so as academics, if we're coming to her work saying, oh, these women are this, these women are that, they're weak, there is no hope, we have to kind of look for the hope. Because what I know about Butler's work is that you can come to the table, but she's not going to feed you. You're going to have to go get your own food and come back to the table, right?